I wrote a book about my dad, Sergeant Shriver, not about the great work he did creating the Peace Corps or Head Start or VISTA, all the acclaim he got on the national or even the international stage, but I really wrote the book about a guy who was happily married to the woman of his dreams for 56 years, who dated her for 7 years, who had a daily intense relationship with God, who had great friends and family, but who treated people of all walks of life really the same. And I know that for Jeannie, my wife and I, as we're raising our 3 kids, and for so many of our friends who are raising young children and dealing with aging parents, that finding the balance in life that my dad found is really an important issue. So I wrote the book hoping to find those lessons that he was teaching me on a daily basis, and hoping that it'll help others deal with balancing family, faith, friends, a commitment to the community, a commitment to work, and a commitment to making a difference on a global stage. So that's what a good man is all about. It's learning the lessons that my dad lived over 95 years. Reliving some of those was tough. Some real sad moments because my dad spent the last 10 years of his life battling Alzheimer's, but also great moments of insight and joy on reflecting on those stories and remembering what he said and putting those down in writing has brought not only great comfort to me, but I hope also great lessons for people in my generation, younger people. I learned from my dad after he had passed away, and I'm still learning from him every day. What made him a unique individual, a unique human being, was his strong faith in God. The fact that he went to Mass on a daily basis, that he was asking for help, getting on his knees and asking for guidance every day from God, and that faith really demanded hope and love in action. And that's really what I think his life work was. It was trying to spread hope and spread love, whether it was through the creation of the Peace Corps, Head Start, Job Corps, legal services, or his work with my mom and rolling Special Olympics out all across this country and across the world. They were really efforts to give hope to people, to show that God's presence was here, and to really adhere to the Gospel's call for social justice. I think I learned from my mom and dad. There's a famous phrase that often gets attributed to the Kennedy family, that to whom much is given, much is demanded. I like St. Francis, it is by giving that we receive. When you give, you receive even more in return. And I think I learned from my mom and dad that you want to be committed to something that's more important than yourself. They never looked inward and worried about their legacy or their ego. They always cared about what would happen tomorrow or the day after, and in a way that would impact people that were forgotten, whether it was people with developmental disabilities, through Special Olympics, whether it was through the poor here in the United States or the poor internationally through the work of the Peace Corps. So I learned that you can make a big difference in people's lives, that you have to work hard, and that you ought to be joyful, and that you ought not to do it out of guilt, but you ought to do it out of joy. And by giving, you're going to end up receiving much more than you give. And I think that's the message of St. Francis, and that's what I learned from both my mom and my dad. And there are all sorts of different ways to do it. You don't have to go into politics, you don't have to go into elected office, and you can make a big difference by tutoring a kid in the neighborhood, by volunteering at a soup kitchen, or going to a senior citizen center and working with and being present with senior citizens. So there are all sorts of different ways to make a contribution. You don't have to be Sergeant Shriver or Eunice Shriver to make a difference.